I want you to just take a second and really picture this scene in your mind. Like, really put yourself in this environment.
Okay, yeah, setting the stage.
Right. So it is the dead of winter,
Mm-hmm.
middle of the night. You've got the flashing red and blue strobes of like 20 police cruisers.
Wow, that's a lot of cops.
Yeah, 20 of them. And the lights are just bouncing off the surrounding buildings.
Yeah.
And standing on the roof of one of those cruisers is a man.
On the roof of the police car.
On the roof. And he is completely buck naked.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And his mouth, it's just an absolute bloody ruin. Like, his teeth are loosened. Several are completely missing from his gums.
That is just, I mean, that's such a visceral, almost overwhelmingly chaotic image to drop into.
It really is. And it gets crazier. He's gripping a cell phone to his left ear, and in his right hand, he has a heavy caliber pistol.
Pointed at the cops.
No. Pressed tight against his own right temple.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So he's surrounded by 20 armed police officers, right? Their fingers are just hovering over their trigger. The tension is, I mean, it's so thick you could cut it with a knife.
I can imagine.
And he is screaming at them to keep back. He's threatening to blow his own brains out if they move even a single inch toward him.
So it's a standoff, but he's the hostage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here is the detail that, kind of elevates this from a standard police standoff into something profoundly terrifying.
Okay, what is it?
He is completely, utterly mad. He has lost his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows it.
Wait, he knows he's gone crazy?
Yes. He actually calls himself a mad dog and announces he only has minutes left to live.
You know, that specific detail, the self-awareness, is what makes this scenario so chilling.
Right. Because usually...
Yeah, usually we associate madness with, like, a departure from reality, right? Like, a delusion that protects the mind from its own breakdown.
Exactly. You don't usually know you're crazy.
Right, but to be hyper-aware of your own deteriorating brain, to literally feel your neural pathways snapping and your grip on sanity slipping away in real time.
It's terrifying.
It is arguably the most frightening psychological space a human being can occupy.
Well,
It's like watching a computer virus delete your hard drive while you're staring helplessly at the monitor.
that's a great way to put it.
And, the tension isn't about whether the police will shoot him. It's about the fact that the man on the roof has already accepted that he's a dead man walking.
Yeah, and he's just trying to maintain total control over his final moments, before the lights go out completely.
Right.
And I should say, this isn't like the climax of some action movie. This is literally the opening reality of the source material for our deep dive today.
Yeah, it starts at an 11.
It really does.
Yeah.
We are looking at excerpts from the suspense thriller Into the Inferno by Earl Emerson.
Such an intense read.
Truly. It chronicles this harrowing, ticking clock journey of a small-town firefighter named Jim Swope.
And Jim is the man on the roof.
Jim is the man on that roof. And the journey that forces him onto that roof, I mean, it's a complete descent into a nightmare.
Yeah, he realizes that he and essentially his entire fire department have been handed this bizarre, untraceable death sentence.
Exactly. And so the mission of this deep dive today is to really deconstruct the mechanics of that nightmare.
Right, because we aren't just going to look at what happens to Jim, right? We want to understand how it happens.
Yeah, how this seemingly mundane, almost absurd highway accident in a snowy Washington winter basically cascades into an inescapable biological collapse.
We're going to unpack the science, the psychology behind this.
Right, looking at the fragile nature of mortality, the crushing burden of leadership when systems fail.
And the dark shadows of extreme religious zealotry, which plays a surprisingly big role.
It really does. Plus, the terrifying vulnerability of our first responders who just walk into the unknown every single day.
Yeah, they really do.
So to understand how Jim ends up naked on a police car, we have to rewind. We have to go back to the inciting incident.
And the inciting incident is, well, it's kind of weird.
It's so weird. Honestly, it feels like it belongs in a totally different genre.
It really does.
So it's February, a freezing night on Interstate 90 near North Bend, Washington.
Right.
And the region has been going through this nasty freeze-thaw cycle. So the roads aren't just snowy. They are practically like frictionless sheets of black ice.
The worst driving conditions possible.
The absolute worst. And there's a massive multi-vehicle pileup. And the culprit, a jackknife chicken truck.
A chicken truck. Which immediately injects this surreal, disorienting element into a disaster zone.
Totally.
Because, when we think of a highway pileup, we think of twisting metal, hazardous chemicals, maybe explosions.
Right. Fire, chaos.
Yeah, we don't think of poultry.
No. And it's darkly, wildly comic. I mean, you have 800 chickens scattered across the interstate.
800.
Yeah. And some of them literally have their feet frozen to the highway asphalt.
Ugh, that's terrible, but also kind of absurd.
It is. They look like bizarre modern art projects. And then you've got these teenage boys who are on their way home from night skiing.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and instead of staying in their cars, they are jumping out to chase these friars around the icy road.
Because of course they are.
Right. And to top it all off, this radical vegan activist emerges from the line of stopped cars with a screwdriver.
Oh, wow.
She starts prying open the surviving cages to, liberate the chicken.
Even though it's freezing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the birds step out and immediately freeze to the asphalt.
Oh, gosh. That is just, what a mess.
It's a total mess. And one of the volunteer firefighters on Jim's crew, this tough woman named Jackie, they actually call her the fire plug, she ends up screaming obscenities at this activist.
I mean, you can't really blame her.
No, it is total, icy, ridiculous chaos.
But notice the psychological effect of that absurdity, right?
What do you mean?
Well, in a high-stress environment, absurdity acts as a cognitive dampener.
Okay, a cognitive dampener.
Yeah, the brain is so busy processing the ridiculousness of teenagers chasing chickens and, an activist wielding a screwdriver that it lowers its threat detection threshold.
Ah, right. Because you're focused on the weirdness.
Exactly. The chaos essentially masks the actual danger.
And right in the middle of this massive distraction, you have this strange bubble of eerie intimacy.
Yes.
Jim Swope, our protagonist, walks away from the chicken chase to check on the second semi-truck involved in the wreck.
The one off the shoulder.
Yeah, it's pitched over on its side in a snowy field off the shoulder. And he climbs down into this cockeyed trailer, and he finds a completely absurd cargo manifest.
It's such a weird mix of items.
Like, there are spilled boxes of Bibles, bales of comic books, blue jeans.
And the syrup.
Yes, this tacky, oozing substance coating everything that turns out to be Coca-Cola syrup.
It's a retail soup.
Exactly.
Just a perfect cross-section of American consumer goods violently tossed together.
And standing right in the middle of the syrup in Scripture is the driver, Holly Riggs.
And she's dealing with chickens, too, right?
Yeah, she's shouting at a trio of escaped chickens that wandered into her trailer.
Naturally.
She's got strawberry blonde hair, green eyes, and Jim is instantly struck by her. And what happens next is fascinating to me.
They skip the small talk.
Completely. They don't just exchange insurance info or medical checks. They start talking, like, deeply.
Well, the environment Emerson creates here is an incubator for trauma bonding.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, they are literally isolated in a tilted box, right? They're insulated from the screaming and the sirens outside by the walls of the trailer and the snow.
It's like their own little world.
Exactly. And when human beings are thrust into sudden, disorienting crises, even absurd ones, social filters just dissolve.
Yeah, you don't care about politeness.
Right. The adrenaline is pumping, so the normal rules of polite, guarded conversation just feel totally irrelevant.
And they realize they have this incredible, almost depressing amount of shared baggage.
They've both been through the ringer.
Yeah, they were both refugees from long-term relationships where they were just utterly abandoned.
Holly's story is awful.
It's so sad. Holly tells Jim her fiancé slipped the engagement ring off her finger while she was sleeping.
While she was sleeping.
Yes. And ran off to New Jersey to join a cult.
Which is just a devastating, profoundly intimate betrayal to admit to a stranger, that you met 5 minutes ago in a crashed truck.
But Jim matches it. His story is even more brutally local.
Yeah. His is really bad.
3 years prior, his wife, Lori, cleaned out their bank account. She even smashed their youngest daughter's piggy bank to take the change.
That detail is just sickening.
It really is. And she ran away with the mayor of their own small town.
Right, so Jim's humiliation was entirely public.
Everyone in town knows.
Every time he sees the mayor, every time he walks through town, that betrayal is reinforced.
Yeah.
So you have these two damaged, abandoned people meeting in the wreckage of a bizarre accident. It's an accelerated intimacy.
Totally. And they end up dating. They have this brief, intense romance for about a month and a half following the crash.
But it doesn't last.
No, the trauma bond wears off. Holly gets very clingy, very fast. She starts talking about marriage, trying to lock down security after her previous abandonment.
Which makes sense for her character.
It does. But Jim, who has his own massive trust issues, gets spooked. He's actually seeing someone else on the side, keeping his emotional options open.
He's not exactly a perfect guy.
Not at all. And he ultimately walks away. He dumps Holly. It's a messy, very human breakup. But I want to pause here and look at the architecture of this setup.
You mean the narrative structure?
Yes. because looking back at it, knowing what's coming, this scene is like slipping on a banana peel, laughing about it, only to realize days later that the peel was coated in radioactive waste.
That's a great analogy.
It's a Trojan horse, right? We are so focused on the sitcom-level setup of the bad date and the quirky meet-cute. Why is this such an effective way to introduce a biological thriller?
Because it completely subverts our conditioned expectations of a threat.
Okay, how so?
Well, if we look at how the brain processes danger, we look for loud signals. We are evolutionarily hardwired to fear the roaring lion, the blazing fire, the explosion.
Right, the obvious stuff.
Exactly. If the inciting incident of this story was a truck labeled hazmat, leaking glowing green fluid, while men in biosuits ran around screaming, our defenses would be at maximum alert.
And Jim's defenses, too. We'd be waiting for the symptoms to start.
Precisely. But here, the inciting incident screens routine.
Yeah, it's just a traffic headache.
A traffic headache and a load of poultry. By making the scene comedic, the threat enters invisibly.
Wow, yeah.
It underscores a terrifying reality about chemical and biological exposure. True danger rarely announces itself with a siren.
It sneaks up on you.
Right. You don't feel a neurotoxin binding to your receptors. You don't feel a microscopic chemical compound crossing the blood-brain barrier.
That is so creepy to think about.
It really is. We're conditioned to fear the fire, but it's the invisible, odorless vapor off-gassing in the corner that actually kills you.
So true.
The author forces the reader and the listener into the exact same false sense of security that Jim experiences.
And that false sense of security holds for months. Which brings us to June.
4 months later.
Right. 4 months have passed since the freezing night on I-90. The ice has thawed. But North Bend Fire and Rescue is not just having a bad run of luck. The department is structurally collapsing.
And dominoes are falling.
Yes. And the nature of these dominoes is what makes this so unsettling. Let's trace the collapse.
It begins at the top. Chief Harry Newcastle.
Right, the chief.
He's a 56-year-old veteran, the kind of guy who can run a chaotic 5-alarm fire scene like he's deciding what to have for lunch, just completely unflappable.
So what happens to him?
He goes on a solo hike in the wilderness to train for a mountain climb. Standard activity for him. But he's found dead.
And the autopsy says hypothermia.
Yes, but the physical evidence at the scene contradicts the expected behavioral response to hypothermia.
Wait, what does that mean?
There's a chilling detail in the report. Newcastle has small animal bites on his extremities that he didn't even try to fend off while he was dying. He was just lying there.
Wait, let's dig into that, because if you're freezing to death, your survival instincts are screaming.
Exactly.
Even as you lose consciousness, if a raccoon or a coyote starts biting your hand, your central nervous system should trigger a flinch response, like a reflex.
Exactly. For a conscious or semi-conscious human to ignore tissue damage from an animal bite implies a profound disconnect between the peripheral nervous system and the brain.
So he couldn't feel it.
Either the pain signals are not reaching the brain, or the brain is completely incapable of processing them and sending a motor response to swat the animal away.
Wow.
He wasn't just frozen. His neurological hardware was shut down before the cold killed him.
But nobody sees that yet. They just see an old guy who got too cold.
Right, they rationalize it.
Then, just days after the chief's funeral, Jackie Feldbaum goes down.
The volunteer who was yelling at the vegan activist?
Yes. She crashes her sports car. She drives her Miata right under the trailer of a semi-truck on I-90.
Horrific.
She survives the trauma, physically, but she is fundamentally gone. She's now a vegetative, non-communicative patient living full-time in a local nursing home.
And again, the department rationalizes it.
Yeah, how do they explain that one?
Well, Jackie had a known reputation as a heavy drinker, so the immediate assumption is impairment.
Right. She was probably drunk. They box it up.
Exactly.
But then, 10 days after Newcastle's funeral and just a week after Jackie's crash, Joel McKean goes down.
Joel is a permanent position firefighter. Right?
Yeah, a senior officer. He's up on his roof pressure washing moss, and he falls. He hits his head, and now he is completely brain dead.
So tragic.
He's wearing adult diapers, lying in a mechanical hospital bed in the middle of his own living room.
The detail about the roof is the anomaly here. It's practically a flat roof.
I mean, how do you fall off a flat roof?
You don't. You don't just lose your balance on a flat surface unless you experience a catastrophic, instantaneous loss of motor control.
Something just turned his legs off.
Something severed the communication between his brain and his legs.
So you have 3 experienced, physically capable first responders down in a matter of weeks.
A pattern is starting to form.
And right in the middle of this departmental panic, Jim is at the firehouse. He sees a red Pontiac pull up into the apron.
And he thinks it's Holly.
He assumes it's Holly, the woman he dumped. And he acts like a total coward.
He really does.
He literally hides. He makes the new probie, a firefighter named Carrie, go down and lie to her, saying he isn't there.
But it's not Holly.
No, it's her older sister, Stephanie Riggs. And Stephanie is this fierce, highly intelligent doctor visiting from Ohio.
And she is not there to mediate a lover's quarrel.
Not at all.
Stephanie delivers an absolute gut punch to Jim. She informs him that Holly was found naked and profoundly hypothermic on the floor of her duplex.
Oh my God.
Holly is now in a vegetative coma at Tacoma General Hospital.
And Stephanie comes at Jim with pure venom. She is a doctor looking for a cause, and she suspects Holly tried to kill herself.
Because of the timeline.
Yes, the timeline matches perfectly with the exact night Jim dumped her over the phone.
And he fell asleep during that call.
I know. Jim admits he actually dozed off on the phone while Holly was crying. He was that callous.
So Stephanie believes Jim's cruelty drove her sister to a suicide attempt.
But Stephanie reveals the catch. The toxicology reports on Holly are totally clean.
Nothing in her system.
No sleeping pills, no barbiturates, no obvious physiological cause for a coma. Just a perfectly healthy 28-year-old woman whose brain simply turned off.
And Jim is standing there, absorbing the hatred from Stephanie, and his mind is just reeling. But he still hasn't connected the wider dots.
Which is something I really want to push back on, or at least explore,
Sure.
Because as a reader, you're screaming at the book, look at the pattern. But if I put myself in Jim's shoes, or if I'm just a citizen of North Bend, it is so incredibly easy to write this off as a bad luck fire department.
That's literally the nickname the locals give them.
Right. Think about how you or I react when 3 people at the office get sick in the same week. Our brains immediately try to find individual excuses.
Oh, absolutely.
We say, oh, John didn't get enough sleep, Sarah ate that bad sushi from the deli, and Mark has kids in daycare.
We aggressively individualize the blame.
Yes. We do exactly what this town did.
Yeah.
We isolate the events to protect our own sense of safety.
It's a defense mechanism.
You've got an older man who died in the cold,
Yeah.
a known heavy drinker who crashed her car, a guy who slipped on a wet roof, and a heartbroken woman who maybe found some untraceable way to end her suffering.
They all seem unrelated.
If I'm Jim, I'm thinking, I'm just a jerk who broke a girl's heart.
Yeah.
I am not patient zero of a massive chemical conspiracy.
Right.
Why is it so hard for the human brain to see the systemic pattern here?
Because seeing the pattern requires abandoning the just world fallacy.
The just world fallacy, what is that?
We desperately want to categorize tragedy into neat, individualized boxes. Like I said, it's a defense mechanism. If Newcastle died because he was old and I am young, I am safe.
Ah, I see.
If Jackie crashed because she drank and I am sober, I am safe. Individualizing tragedy gives us the illusion of control.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
To see the pattern, to look past the how they died, the cold, the crash, the fall, and ask why they lost control in the first place, that requires a massive paradigm shift.
You have to accept you're not in control.
Exactly. It requires you to accept that there is a systemic, invisible threat operating in your environment that you cannot control, cannot see, and cannot fight.
That is terrifying.
Human beings are incredibly resistant to that shift. It takes a highly critical, almost paranoid mind to abandon the comfort of coincidence.
And the lengths people will go to in order to maintain that comfort, to maintain that illusion of control, are staggering.
Yeah, they really are.
Which perfectly bridges us to the clash between blind faith and cold reality in this story. Because Jim and his crew get called out to Joel McCain's house for a medical emergency.
It's a scene that perfectly encapsulates the terrifying lengths of human denial.
It is grotesque. Jim and his partner, Stan Beebe, walk into Joel's pristine upper-middle-class living room.
Right.
And Joel, their buddy, the guy they fought fires with, is in this mechanical hospital bed. His face is turning blue-black. He is gasping.
Oh, man.
His eyes are bulging. He is actively choking to death. And his mother-in-law is just standing there wringing her hands watching it happen.
And why is he choking?
Because she decided to feed a brain-dead man a massive, solid slice of a Braeburn apple.
The context here is absolutely crucial to understanding the horror of this moment.
Yeah, please explain what is happening here.
Joel's family are devout Christian scientists.
Okay.
Their theological framework dictates that sickness is an illusion, a manifestation of mortal thought, rather than a biological reality.
So they don't believe he's actually sick.
Correct. They had actually removed Joel from the hospital against medical advice, refusing any further medical diagnosis or intervention to rely entirely on prayer.
That is so dangerous.
And the mother-in-law had been reading scripture to him, and she believed she perceived a spiritual improvement.
Oh, no.
So she decided to feed this vegetative, paralyzed man solid food to prove the healing was real.
Jim and Stan have to physically haul Joel's dead weight up and perform violent abdominal thrusts until this giant chunk of apple shoots out of his mouth like a hockey puck.
They save his life, or what's left of it.
Yeah. And the mother-in-law's reaction, she doesn't apologize. She doesn't realize she almost killed him.
She's completely in denial.
She immediately tries to hide the apple in her pocket. She refuses to accept the physical, biological reality of the choking.
Right, she blames it on something else.
She claims the apple was just mortal mind trying to stop the healing. She literally refers to it as the Adam apple.
It's a staggering, almost pathological display of cognitive dissonance.
It really is.
The brain's inability to reconcile two conflicting realities. The physical reality of Joel's brain death is so unacceptable, so terrifying to her, that she retreats entirely into theological armor.
She just overwrites reality.
Exactly. She imposes a narrative of divine testing over the reality of a dying man. It's not just denial, it's an active rewriting of physical physics to protect her worldview.
And Jim's reaction to this isn't just like professional annoyance. It is deeply cynical and personal. He looks at this woman with absolute disgust.
Which makes sense given his past.
Yes. To understand why Jim reacts so viscerally, we have to look at his backstory. Jim wasn't raised in a normal household. He was raised in a cult.
The sixth element of the Saints of Christ.
Such a creepy name.
It was a minimalist, extreme religious cult based out of a sprawling mansion in Seattle, led by a highly charismatic con man named William P. Markham.
Markham is a classic grifter. He was a former tent revival child healer who grew up and basically figured out he could fleece vulnerable people by promising them exclusive VIP access to the afterlife.
Usual setup.
Right. Markham taught a theology based on fear that there were 27 distinct degrees of hell.
27.
Yeah, and basically everyone on Earth, except his few dozen loyal followers, was destined for one of them.
So Jim's family was part of this.
Jim's father was entirely hooked. He sold his house, sold his car, gave every penny to Markham, and moved the family into this communal mansion.
And Jim's childhood inside that mansion was defined by oppressive, performative religion and deep psychological trauma.
He had it so rough.
He was illegitimate. His father married his mother when she was 8.5 months pregnant, explicitly to save her soul from the 27 degrees of hell.
Just awful.
His mother found the environment so suffocating that she actually abandoned Jim for 4 years when he was a child.
And his dad blamed him.
Yes. The father's response was to blame Jim. He told his son that his mother left because Jim lacked sufficient faith.
And it gets so much worse. The psychological damage of public humiliation was baked into his daily routine.
What did they do?
When Jim got bad grades in public school, the cult elders didn't get him a tutor. They made him stand on busy street corners wearing cardboard sandwich boards with slogans like, "If I tried harder, I'd be smarter."
Oh, that is child abuse.
Can you imagine the sheer humiliation for a kid?
No wonder he ran away.
He finally escaped the only way he could, by forging his birth date and running away to join the army at 16.
So he has zero tolerance for religious extremism.
Exactly. So when Jim looks at Joel's mother-in-law holding that apple, he isn't seeing a grieving, confused woman. He is seeing William P. Markham.
He's seeing the cult?
He is seeing the exact same delusional, reality-denying zealotry that ruined his childhood.
And this profound skepticism is starkly highlighted later that exact same day.
Oh yeah, the nursing home visit.
Jim goes to visit his own father, who suffered a stroke 3 years prior and is now living in a nursing home, specifically room 111.
Which is right down the hall from where Jackie, his coworker, is lying in her vegetative state.
I know, right?
The geography of tragedy in this town is incredibly condensed.
It really is. So Jim walks into room 111, and his father is just slumped in a wheelchair, staring blankly at a heat register on the wall.
Because of the stroke.
Right, the stroke wiped out his cognitive function. And Jim, carrying the weight of the apple incident, kneels down.
What does he do?
He places a hand on his father's knee, and he sarcastically performs a faith healing.
Oh.
He commands his father, invoking the name of Jesus and the name of William P. Markham, to rise up and walk.
And of course, nothing happens. The father doesn't blink. The room is silent.
Exactly.
Jim is doing this to prove a point to himself. He is proving in the most painful, masochistic way possible that his faith is permanently dead. The universe does not answer.
Which is a brilliant, essential piece of character architecture for a biological thriller.
I was thinking about this. Let me try an analogy here.
Oh, okay, let's hear it.
In this story, extreme belief systems, whether it's Christian Science or the Sixth Element cult, they act like a bulletproof vest made out of paper.
Made out of paper, okay.
It keeps the wind off you. It makes you feel secure when you're just walking down the street. You feel protected. But the second the actual kinetic energy of a bullet hits it, it disintegrates instantly.
That's a really good analogy.
Jim's childhood stripped him of that paper vest before the shooting even started.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, from a narrative standpoint, why spend so much time diving into the minutia of religious doctrine and childhood trauma in a story that is ultimately about a chemical cover-up?
Because it establishes the thematic baseline of control versus surrender.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Extreme religious views, cults, and as we will see, bureaucratic systems, all offer a comforting, organizing narrative to the human mind. They tell you, we are the chosen. The world is just a test. Suffering has a divine reason. The system is in control.
It makes sense of the chaos.
It provides a neurological padding against the random, chaotic horrors of the universe. It makes the world make sense.
But Jim doesn't have that padding. He knows the universe doesn't care.
Precisely. Jim's complete lack of faith forces him to face the terror of this biological syndrome head-on without any anesthetic.
He sees it for what it is.
He knows there is no divine plan at work here. If he dies, if Joel dies, if Holly dies, it's not a test from God. It's a terrifyingly random, indifferent chemical reaction.
Yeah, that makes it so much worse.
Stripping away Jim's faith makes the biological threat infinitely more terrifying because there is no spiritual safety net to catch him. He is falling, and he knows it.
Which leads us directly into the reality of that fall, the anatomy of syndrome.
Section 4.
Because the safety net is gone, the ground is rushing up to meet them, and the man who finally sees the ground coming isn't Jim. It's the last guy you'd expect, Stan Beebe.
Stan is the physical anchor of the firehouse.
No, he's the big guy.
He's the strongest man in the department, a guy who routinely bench presses 400 pounds. He's a gentle giant, a devoted family man with a wife and 4 kids.
It's a picture of stability.
He is the picture of stability.
But Stan shows up to the firehouse completely unraveled.
Yeah, he falls apart.
He isn't in uniform. He's in civilian clothes. He is reeking of alcohol. And Stan is a guy who never drinks.
Which is a huge red flag.
He is openly weeping. And he drops a massive, paradigm-shifting bombshell on Jim and the crew.
What does he say?
He says, there is a syndrome, and he has the proof. He somehow bypassed the bureaucracy and got his hands on Chief Newcastle's official autopsy report.
And it details a very strange, very specific symptom.
A waxy, whitish substance coating the backs of the chief's hands.
Stan is the one who finally abandons the just world fallacy. He connects the dots.
He realizes they didn't just have bad luck.
He realizes the chief didn't just die of hypothermia. His brain shut off in the woods. Joel didn't slip on a flat roof. His brain shut off. Jackie didn't just swerve. Her brain shut off.
And how does Stan know this for sure?
He realizes the horrifying truth because he has the exact same waxy substance emerging on his own hands.
Oh, wow. I want to talk about the chemistry of this for a second because the author introduces this waxy substance. If we look at real-world neurotoxins or delayed chemical agents, what is happening here biologically?
Well, while the specific chemical in the book is a fictionalized compound, the mechanism is grounded in toxicology.
No.
Many potent neurotoxins are highly lipid-soluble, meaning they bind to fat cells.
Oh, okay.
This allows them to easily cross the blood-brain barrier, which is a lipid bilayer designed to protect the brain.
So it sneaks right in?
Exactly. The waxy substance on the hands suggests a systemic chemical saturation.
So the body is full of it.
The body recognizes a foreign synthetic lipid or hydrocarbon in the bloodstream and is desperately trying to excrete it through the sebaceous glands in the skin.
That is horrifying.
It's the body's failing exhaust system pushing the poison out through the pores.
And Stan has meticulously documented the progression of this failure. He has written out a timeline based on his own physical deterioration.
He calls it the 7 scared days.
Let's break down this incredibly specific day-by-day countdown because it reads like a medical descent into hell.
It really does.
Day 1. Your hands start shaking. A slight, uncontrollable tremor.
Just a tremor.
Day 2. The hands take on that waxy appearance. Your legs get weak and jittery, and you develop a mild pressure on your frontal lobe, a persistent headache.
Okay, ramping up.
Day 3. The headache becomes severe. You get intensely dizzy. You start falling down, losing your balance completely.
That's the vestibular system taking a hit.
Day 4 through 6. The symptoms shift rapidly. You can't keep food down. The nausea clears up, but your vision blurs, and you get a severe deafening ringing in your ears.
And then the end.
Day 7, the final day. The neurotoxin completes its work. You become what Stan calls a zombie. Brain death.
The shifting symptoms from day 4 to day 6 are particularly terrifying from a neurological perspective.
Why is that?
It implies that the chemical agent isn't just shutting down the brain uniformly. It is actively migrating through different cortical regions.
This is moving around.
Yes. It hits the vestibular system, causing dizziness, moves to the occipital lobe, causing blurred vision, targets the auditory cortex, causing the ringing.
It's just destroying everything piece by piece.
It's a slow, systematic dismantling of human perception.
And Stan tells Jim that he is currently on day 6.
Day 6, so close to the end.
He knows he only has 24 hours left of consciousness. And Stan makes a horrific but entirely logical declaration.
What does he decide to do?
He says he refuses to end up like Joel McCain, choking on an apple and a diaper in his living room, draining his family's finances and emotion.
Oh, no.
He announces plainly that he's going to kill himself.
It's a devastating moment, and Jim and the mayor, Steve Haston, who happens to be at the station, completely botch the intervention.
They just drop the ball.
They try to talk him down, but they get called out on an alarm. In the confusion, the mayor lets Stan walk out the door.
And an hour later, the tragic inevitability strikes. Jim and the crew respond to a massive multi-vehicle wreck on the highway.
And it's Stan.
It's Stan.
Yeah.
Crushed inside a black pickup truck that is purposefully rammed head-on into an 18-wheeler at high speed.
He went out on his own terms.
He bypassed day 7.
The psychological blow to the department is immeasurable. The strongest man broke. But the true horror for Jim comes not from the crash, but in the quiet aftermath.
Yes, Jim is processing Stan's death. He breaks into Stan's locker at the firehouse and finds the written list of the 7 scared days.
The timeline.
And Jim reads day 1, tingly hands that shake. He suddenly remembers his own hands shaking uncontrollably the day before when he was arguing with Stephanie Riggs.
Oh, God.
He reads day 2, waxy hands, weak legs, mild headache. He looks down at his own hands.
Aren't they waxy?
They are coated in the white, waxy substance. His legs have been feeling like jelly all morning. His head is pounding. He is on day 2.
It's finally hitting him.
And the very next morning, he wakes up entirely disoriented, having collapsed on his bedroom floor in the middle of the night. He has hit day 3.
The illusion of immunity is completely shattered. The denial is stripped away.
It's like a biological hourglass has just been flipped over on his desk.
That's exactly what it is.
Think about your normal day. You're walking around worrying about paying the electric bill, wondering if you should text someone back, and suddenly, mathematically, you realize you have exactly 96 hours of consciousness left.
It changes everything.
The mundane future ceases to exist. I want to look at the pacing of this suspense. How does a strict 7-day timeline change the nature of fear in a narrative?
Well, it changes fear from a philosophical concept into an architectural structure.
Architectural structure, what does that mean?
We all live with the vague, abstract fear of death. We know it's coming, but we successfully ignore it because the timeline is unknown. It's a horizon.
Right, it's out there somewhere.
But the 7 scared days replaces the horizon with a brick wall. It removes hope. It turns mortality into a project management schedule.
A project management schedule for dying.
Exactly. The suspense doesn't come from if he will die, but from the unbearable friction of watching the sand run out while he tries to accomplish his final goals.
And Jim's reaction is so fascinating to me. He doesn't just curl up in a ball and scream. He doesn't pray, because we established he has no faith.
No, he shifts into a state of hyper-focused, grim pragmatism.
Grim pragmatism.
It's a recognized psychological response to terminal diagnoses. The brain narrows its focus to immediate, actionable control.
He looks at his 2 young daughters, realizing he has to secure their future in a matter of days.
He has to take care of them.
So he is actually driving, gets stuck in frustrating traffic, and instead of raging, he just pulls off the highway into a Toyota dealership and buys a luxury Lexus on the spot,
Just buys a Lexus.
just because he can. He buys all the premium disability insurance packages the dealer offers, knowing with absolute certainty that the insurance will pay off the car when he becomes a vegetable in 4 days.
That is so dark.
It is. He is intentionally creating a free asset for his kids. It's a bizarrely practical, almost cynical response to impending doom.
But it works.
He decides to spend his last coherent hours hunting for the truth of what killed his department.
Which launches the rogue investigation phase. Section 5 of our deep dive.
Right.
Jim steps outside the law and the bureaucracy because he is no longer bound by their consequences.
He is dying, his head is splitting, his legs are giving out, but he traces the shipping route of Hawley's truck from that February crash.
The one with the chickens?
Yeah. He drives to Continental Freightways in Seattle, determined to get his hands on the original shipping manifest.
And he immediately encounters the everyday friction of the system.
Oh, Cleve.
Yeah, he runs into a clerk named Cleve. Cleve is a husky, deeply hostile, aggressively homophobic clerk who absolutely refuses to look up the records.
Just totally unhelpful.
He tells Jim, a sick man asking for help, to get lost.
And Jim, operating with the absolute freedom of a condemned man, completely destabilizes the situation. It is a darkly, intensely comedic scene.
What does he do?
Jim realizes intimidation won't work, so he puts on this incredibly flamboyant persona.
Oh, boy.
He acts hyper-romantic towards Cleve right there in the dispatch office in front of all the ruddy truckers.
That must have thrown him off.
Oh, completely. He calls Cleve's sweetie, talks loudly about their wild night together, and begs Cleve to come over the counter and hurt him.
Oh, my God.
Cleve is so panicked, so socially emasculated by the situation, that he completely breaks protocol and basically throws the shipping manifest at Jim just to get him out of the building.
It's a brilliant tactical use of social discomfort.
It really is.
Jim breaks the unwritten rules of the room because the rules of society no longer apply to a man on day 3.
And the manifest is the key. Jim deciphers it. Amidst the comic books and the Bibles, he finds the anomaly.
What's the anomaly?
3 mysterious boxes marked simply miscellaneous cargo, shipped by a company called JCP, Jane's California Propulsion.
A rocket fuel company.
Wait, really?
Yeah. They specialize in high-grade propellants and hydrogen fuel cell technology.
So Jim calls them. He gets a safety officer on the phone. And the officer nervously and far too definitively lies to him.
Of course he does.
He claims they didn't ship anything through the Pacific Northwest during the winter months.
Which is the classic bureaucratic tell.
What do you mean?
Over-denial confirms the suspicion. In the history of industrial cover-ups, the immediate blanket denial of geographical presence is step 1 of liability management.
So Jim knows he's on to something.
Definitely.
He takes this breadcrumb to the internet. He searches for phrases like mystery firefighter illness and neurotoxin.
And he finds a match.
He hits pay dirt. He finds an obscure obituary for a firefighter in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who died of an undiagnosed, rapid-onset neurological illness.
And the timeline.
The timeline traces back to an event called the Southeast Travelers Freight Fire. Jim tracks down a surviving Chattanooga firefighter named Charlie Drago.
And Drago is living in a state of sheer, suffocating paranoia.
Yeah, he's terrified.
He tells Jim that they are listening to the calls. He warns Jim that whoever manufactured the compound and covered up the Tennessee fire has infinite resources.
So it's a massive conspiracy.
He tells Jim that they will blow him to smithereens to keep the chemical composition a secret. He tells Jim his life isn't worth a plug nickel if he keeps digging.
This expands the scope of the conspiracy, from a local small-town tragedy to a massive corporate cover-up.
It's not just a local accident anymore.
But I want to contrast this urgent, life-or-death, explosive investigation with what happens next, because this is where the story elevates from a thriller to a searing social critique.
The town meeting.
Yes. Mayor Haston has finally set up a town meeting with county officials to discuss the Bad Luck Fire Department.
And Jim goes to this meeting.
Jim goes to this meeting. He presents Stan's timeline. He presents the waxy hands. He presents the link to the JCP shipment. He practically begs them to sound the public health alarm.
And the response of the collective bureaucracy is nothing short of staggering apathy.
It is infuriating. The King County executive, a politician worried about his reelection, tells Jim he needs more definitive proof before he's willing to cause a public panic or interrupt commerce.
Always about commerce.
And the mayor, Steve Hassan, the guy who stole Jim's wife, mind you, is sweating profusely about municipal budgets.
Budgets.
Right. Yes. North Bend is self-insured. He is terrified of the cash flow implications if the city has to pay out line-of-duty death benefits for an entire fire department.
Wow.
And then there's Esther Mullerin. She's an environmental chemist brought in from the university. She isn't horrified. She is practically vibrating with ghoulish academic excitement.
She just wants to study them.
She doesn't want to find a cure. She wants to bring her graduate students to the firehouse to draw blood and study the dying men. She sees them not as human beings, but as an unprecedented academic goldmine for tenure.
It is a profound, horrifying disconnect between the individual experiencing the trauma and the institutions designed to manage it.
Wait, I really want to dig into this. The mayor is sweating over budgets, the academic is mentally outlining her next research paper, and the politicians are terrified of bad PR.
Yeah.
While Jim Swope is literally leaning against the wall of the conference room, knowing his brain is actively melting inside his skull.
Sickening.
He is on a biological clock,
Yeah.
and they are on a fiscal clock. How does municipal self-insurance actually dictate this kind of denial?
It comes down to the mechanics of liability.
Explain that.
When a municipality is self-insured, they don't pay premiums to a massive outside insurance conglomerate to handle catastrophic risk. They pay out claims from their own localized funds.
So it's coming out of their own pocket.
Exactly. If an entire fire department goes down with a long-term vegetative neurological syndrome, the medical care and pension payouts could easily hit $50 or $100 million.
Which would bankrupt the town.
It would instantly bankrupt the town. Therefore, there is a massive subconscious and sometimes conscious systemic incentive to deny the existence of the syndrome.
Because if it's real, they're ruined.
If it's just bad luck, if Jackie was drunk, if Joel was clumsy, the city's liability is capped. If it's a systemic chemical exposure, the city is ruined. The system prioritizes its own fiscal survival over the biological survival of its employees.
That is deeply cynical, but it makes complete sense. Emerson is showing us that the true villain isn't just the mysterious JCPE rocket fuel compound.
No, the chemical is just a catalyst.
The true villain is the friction of the system.
Exactly. Consider how institutions handle threats. When a disaster occurs that fits neatly into a known, pre-approved category, a standard house fire, a typical car crash, the institutions mobilize perfectly.
They know what to do.
Protocols are executed. But when a novel threat emerges that doesn't fit the established parameters, an invisible delayed reaction neurotoxin from an unmarked box, the institutions freeze.
They just stop working.
They demand empirical proof that doesn't exist yet. They prioritize protocol and legal liability over human life.
So Jim is just out of luck.
Jim walks out of that sterile meeting room realizing a terrifying truth. He is entirely on his own. The cavalry is not coming because the cavalry is busy balancing the budget.
Which brings us to the climax of the excerpt. Jim leaves the meeting, furious, physically deteriorating, the ringing in his ears starting to build.
It's getting worse.
He is back at the fire station. And suddenly, the house bell rings. The tones drop. It's a working fire. Heavy black smoke reported.
Right when he's falling apart.
And it's at the property of Max Caputo.
Oh, Caputo.
Caputo is a known local criminal, a guy who runs shady operations and routinely lets his vicious Dobermans loose to bite firefighters when they show up.
Great guy.
The call is for a double-wide trailer fire. And from a firefighting perspective, trailer fires are incredibly dangerous.
Why are they so dangerous?
They burn exceptionally hot and fast because they are essentially constructed of lightweight synthetics and glues.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Now remember Jim's physical state?
Mm-hmm.
He is deep into day 3. He is incredibly dizzy. His head is pounding like a bass drum.
He shouldn't even be walking.
His legs are so weak he literally had to sit on the floor that morning just to pull his boots on. But he climbs into the cab of the engine.
Duty calls.
And because he is the senior officer on shift, he has to act as the incident commander. He arrives on scene, steps off the rig into the blistering heat and the thick toxic smoke to coordinate the attack.
Wow.
He has to read the fire dynamics, protect the exposure buildings, assign hose lines to the probie, and make sure nobody gets killed.
He is operating on sheer muscle memory and adrenaline.
He has to be.
And there is a deeply poignant, heartbreaking detail embedded in this scene.
What is it?
Jim had brought his 2 young daughters and their teenage babysitter to the station that day, trying to spend his last coherent moments near them.
Oh, right.
So as he is commanding this chaotic, dangerous fire scene, shouting orders over the roar of the flames, his young daughters are parked just up the street.
They're watching him.
They are watching their father work from the air-conditioned safety of that brand new leather-scented Lexus he just bought with his death money.
That is just, wow. It's an incredible cinematic image. It's like watching a dying captain navigating his ship through one last violent storm.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
He knows the ship is going down.
Yeah.
He knows he can't save himself, but he can still do the job. He can still direct the crew and protect the public.
Right.
But I'm curious from a storytelling perspective. You have this massive, shadowy corporate conspiracy involving rocket fuel, internet research, and cover-ups in Tennessee.
A huge scale.
Why end this particular segment of the story not with a shootout or a confrontation with the corporate villains, but with a standard, dirty, blue-collar trailer fire?
Because it creates a brilliant, devastating juxtaposition.
Tell me more.
Throughout this entire ordeal for the last 4 months, Jim has been fighting an invisible, unbeatable enemy inside his own bloodstream.
A neurotoxin.
He can't punch a neurotoxin. He can't arrest a chemical compound. He can't put a hose line on it. It completely strips him of all his agency and turns him into a victim.
Right, he's helpless.
But outside, on the fire ground, he faces a tangible, familiar enemy.
Fire. It's a monster he knows how to fight.
Exactly. It restores his agency, even momentarily. It demonstrates his profound, unwavering dedication to his duty. He is a firefighter until the very last synapse fires.
That's powerful.
But more importantly, from a thematic standpoint, it serves as a stark reminder to the listener of the constant multi-front dangers that first responders face every single day.
Yeah, they really do put it all on the line.
Jim and his crew are risking their lives against the physical flames, entirely unaware of the invisible synthetic toxins they might simultaneously be inhaling from the burning plastics, glues, and God knows what else Max Caputo has stashed in that trailer.
You never know what's burning.
They fight the visible monster bravely, while the invisible one quietly slips past their defenses.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We've journeyed through an incredibly intense, claustrophobic atmosphere of dread.
It's a heavy story.
We leave Jim Swope standing on the fire ground, commanding his crew, holding the line. But his internal reality is closing in fast.
He's running out of time.
He has only a few days left before his mind shuts down forever, and he becomes a prisoner in his own body. He is surrounded by bureaucratic apathy that values budgets over breath.
And the corporate conspiracy.
Shadowed by a lethal corporate conspiracy that has already ruined lives across the country. And he is desperately trying to secure a financial and emotional future for his daughters before the hourglass runs out.
It is the ultimate ticking clock narrative, because the bomb isn't under a desk, it's ticking away inside his own nervous system.
And what Earl Emerson does so effectively with this story is remind us of how incredibly fragile our own illusion of safety really is.
Oh, he takes so much for granted.
Think about your commute tomorrow. Every single time you drive down the highway, you pass unmarked 18-wheelers, you pass minor accidents, you breathe the air coming through your car vents.
We just trust it's fine.
We trust completely blindly that the system regulates what goes into those trucks, how they are driven, and what emergency protocols happen when they spill.
We rely entirely on that paper armor of regulation and municipal bureaucracy, just as Joel McCain's family relied on their theology to protect them from biology.
That's a great point.
And as we've seen, when the system encounters something it wasn't prepared for, the paper tears.
Exactly. So I want to leave you with this final chilling thought to mull over.
Okay.
Next time you're stuck in traffic, sipping your coffee, and you find yourself staring at the back of a massive, battered 18-wheeler carrying a hazmat placard that just says miscellaneous cargo, ask yourself a question.
What's the question?
If that truck jackknifed on the ice and spilled its contents right now, right in front of your car, would the people in charge actually have the tools and the desire to protect you?
Probably not.
Or would you simply become another unexplainable medical anomaly, a budget liability, quietly fading away in a hospital bed in room 111? Stay curious, stay alert, and truly take a moment to appreciate the fragile, beautiful normalcy of a boring, uneventful day.